Norway, 1904. A winter so severe it erased entire villages under feet of snow. For Henrik and Marta Elder, dragging two children through the drifts, survival meant finding any shelter at all. What they found was a massive black shape in the woods. The storm was burying the pines, yet this towering wooden structure remained strangely clean. This image shows the standard architecture of the region: log construction and low, sod-roofed cabins designed to hunker down against the wind. This was the stable, familiar world the elders were forced to leave behind. The building in the clearing ignored those conventions. It stood several stories high, its windows pitch black. From the ground, the walls appeared to be leaning inward, as if the entire structure were watching the family approach the front porch. The door opened to reveal Elias Falk, an old man with pale skin and empty eyes. He offered the family shelter for the winter, but handed Henrik a leather notebook with a specific set of rules. Among them, never sleep with your bedroom door open, and most importantly, never describe your dreams aloud. Inside, the house was impossibly warm, though no fire was burning in the hearth. A faint scent of sweet rot drifted up from the floorboards, but the relief of a stocked kitchen and soft beds was overwhelming. For the first time in months, the children were smiling. The house offered a sanctuary that Henrik simply couldn't refuse. The physical comfort was enough to drown out the instinct that the hallways were too long, or that the geometry felt increasingly wrong. Over the first 2 nights, the house began a period of incubation. By strictly enforcing the rule of silence, the family was forced to lock their growing anxieties deep inside. Each member became a silent container for their own mounting dread. Marta was the first to break. She began having recurring nightmares of her deceased infant son standing beside the bed, whispering that his mother had forgotten him. Terrified of the rules in the notebook, she kept the horror entirely to herself. Jonas was also struggling, dreaming of soldiers calling to him from beneath the ice of a frozen lake. Every morning the family gathered for breakfast, and every morning the silence between them grew heavier as the unspoken traumas multiplied. As the family suppresses their fears, the house's blueprint expands. New corridors draw themselves into existence, branching into empty space. The bedrooms drift further apart, stretching the physical distance between family members. The growing labyrinth ensures each person is effectively alone. The shifting geometry creates a physical barrier out of their own secrecy. By the time Henrik realized the staircase had moved 6 feet overnight, the silence had already built the walls that would trap them. By the 3rd night, the atmosphere shifted. 8-year-old Lena began smiling in a way that didn't reach her eyes, claiming a smiling lady with hair covering her face was living beneath her bed. She spoke about the entity as if it were a new friend. Henrik finally found the hidden pages at the back of the notebook. The entries from previous residents were desperate. One morning stood out. If a child smiles while sleeping, the child already belongs to the house. Finally, the breaking point came. At midnight, Marta, unable to endure the ghostly crying of her lost son, violated the core rule. She screamed her nightmare aloud, describing every detail of the child she saw in the darkness. The house groaned as if it were responding to her voice. Floorboards shifted, and the hallway outside their room violently stretched into the dark. Countless doors slammed open. Speaking the nightmare wasn't a release of pressure, it was a trigger. By giving the fear a name, Marta had fed the house exactly what it needed to begin the final phase of its work. Henrik ran into the hallway to find Alina, but the house had become a massive labyrinth of shifting stairs and dead ends. He searched through rooms filled with snow and children's shoes, following the sound of his daughter's distant giggling. When he finally found her, Lena was asleep with a wide, unnatural smile. When she spoke, it wasn't her voice, but a deeper, older sound that vibrated through her chest. She told him he was too late. The house had already finished her dream. As the walls began to breathe and the doors downstairs began to burst open, Henrik realized they couldn't save her. He smashed a window and dragged a sobbing Marta and Jonas out into the blizzard, escaping into the freezing night with nothing but their lives. They looked back one last time. In the upstairs window, Lena stood waving slowly. Beside her was a towering, long-limbed shape, the woman from her nightmares, now fully manifested and standing in the light. This is a view of that same clearing the following morning. The storm had stopped, but the house was gone. There were no footprints, no charred wood, and no sign that the massive structure had ever occupied the space. The clearing remains empty until the next starving winter. The house is a roaming monument to unhealed grief, appearing only to those who keep their trauma locked away, waiting for the moment they finally speak their nightmares aloud.